I'm Myriam.
And I'm Elyse. Two friends bound by the love of books.
Taking on the world one chapter at a time. This is the Book Bound Besties podcast. Hey, Book Bound Besties! Welcome to episode 9 of season 1 of the Book Bound Besties podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Fourth Wing chapters 25, 26, and 27. And we leave off on a cliffhanger this week.
We do.
Yeah, sorry. But before we talk about this chunk of chapters, there are just a few things like Elyse and I need to discuss because this weekend was the Super Bowl.
Right.
We record a little bit ahead of time just to give us a little bit of buffer and...
Yeah, time to edit and all that stuff.
We're new at this and...
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were with our friends who we mentioned quite a bit on the podcast this weekend, and it was so nice. They're all so supportive. We have a friend who literally, I think, has read 2 or 3 books in his life, and he's reading Fourth Wing along with us.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, so he actually brought up something that neither of us caught.
What did he bring up?
The podcast, and I told him I was going to wait to tell you live.
Oh, really? Okay, because he didn't tell me.
It's super silly.
Okay.
But, so you remember episode 1, how I say squibes?
Yeah. I think I
You
said
said it first. You said it first.
And you know what? I've actually said it more than once.
I was dying. He was telling me this. I was like, what? So I went back and listened to it, and he is 100% right.
That's so funny.
The first passage you read, you say squibes, and neither of us caught it.
That's really funny. I was getting sweaty because that was so funny. Anyway, it was just really nice. We haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah.
And just to hear all of their encouragement and feedback and all that kind of stuff, that was really awesome.
Supportive.
Yeah, we have great friends. Another thing, I've been waiting. So it's really funny. Elyse was waiting to tell me something on the podcast, and I've been waiting to tell her something. I came across a really cute bookish apparel and accessories line, and we're gonna put the links in the description. But the store is called Valor and Lore, which I think is a really cute name for a store. I found this creator's account because we really love Rosebud's Realm. She has super funny reactions when she goes like kind of chunks of chapters at a time on her TikTok. She has a lot of funny skits and that kind of thing. She also has an amazing Discord channel that I'm a part of. It's just a nice place to go when you want to vent and freak out over a book immediately after it came out, because none of my friends are as caught up as I am. So I don't have anyone in real life to talk to, so I can go on the Discord channel and...
We'll get there.
Yeah, exactly. All this to say, one of her friends, Ashley, is another creator. They do a lot of kind of collaborations, and they do these live discussions on YouTube about different SJM books and stuff. And I don't know, I guess it was in my algorithm that I found that this girl's account and her store, and the stuff is so cute.
I want to see.
So the first thing I want to show you is, and actually this is really important, and I think it's a general PSA to our listeners and different people who like to purchase bookish related merchandise. This store is licensed, which means that the creator has gotten approval from like SJM, or she also has some Fourth Wing merch. So Rebecca Yarros as well. So what's really important is when you're buying merchandise that is referring to books that you like and I don't know, like locations, like you see a lot of Valaris stuff, you see that kind of thing. It's important to try to buy it from licensed stores, because that means that they've kind of gone through the proper channels and they're not infringing on the author's intellectual property.
Right.
So, okay. So the first thing that I thought was super cute was this anti-social influencer t-shirt. How sweet is that? Also, this is like not sponsored. This is just me being like whatever. Then you don't know what this means because this is from Crescent City, but it's a t-shirt that says light it up. Then there's another one, a Hunt Athalar.
Of course.
This one's a Zayden Ryerson one. And the boys, like the sweatshirts that have the boys' names on it, like the boy's name is on the front. And then on the back is like a really sweet, all the boys' like sweaters have a really cute passage or something, like a love quote.
Okay.
That's really, really cute. And then she's got a Biscayeth sweater
cute.
that's really nice.
I like the colors too.
Yeah. She's got another one like that says wing leader. She's got a tote bag. Anyway, it's really, really cute stuff. I kind of want to buy
the best guy to wear college one.
Yeah.
I've been eyeing some, so I'm in.
Yeah. So we'll put some links in our show notes because I just think it's nice to be able to support, you know, this creator and her store, and especially because she's going about things the right way. I think it's really important. You have been making your way through Silver Flames.
Yeah, I'm not very far though. To be honest, no, I'm really not.
Has it not gripped you yet?
Interesting. I'm reading it slowly, but I don't think that's a testament to the book. I think it's a testament to my tired brain.
Fair enough.
But I'm enjoying it. It's just I'm like 200 pages in, maybe not even. Like,
okay, yeah. So, and it's a thick one.
Yeah. So ask me next week. I'll be further along.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm about halfway through A Crown of Gilded Bones.
Okay. That's a third.
It's a third from Blood and Ash. I am stressed. But actually, I'm following Sword and Smut's reading order, which is another thing we can link in our show notes, because From Blood and Ash has a companion series, and she kind of splices it in there. So that'll be
cool.
Interesting to kind of put a pause on the story that I'm currently in, and then anyway, I'm excited.
I've heard great things of that series. So
it is up there for me, like I've been saying. Let's get into chapter 25.
Let's do it. Squad battles are well underway as we are presented with the final task. Squads must acquire something that would be most advantageous to their enemy. We are launched into a high-stakes heist as Violet's squad attempts to loot General Sorrengail's office.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
I love a good heist.
Me too. Yeah, I love a good heist movie. The pre-chapter blurb comes from page 77 of the Book of Brennan, and it says, the squad battle is more important than the wing leaders will let on. They like to joke that it's a game, that it's just bragging rights for the squad leaders and the winning squad, but it's not. They're all watching. The commandant, the professors, the commanding officers, they're watching to see who will rise to the top. They're salivating to see who will fall.
I found that passage painted it to be so ruthless. So I was expecting more violence, I guess.
Well, keep in mind, so the thing is with the squad battle, a lot of it has kind of happened in the background, right? We only witness one spar. This chapter opens with Liam on the sparring mat kicking butt and Rhiannon yelling at his opponent to kind of just tap out. Mm-hmm. We learn about the Gauntlet Sky Race, which I'm not even sure what that is because we know what the Gauntlet is.
Well, they mention it in passing somewhere. I think it was in this chapter. They mentioned it super in passing, and I was like, what is that?
Yeah, it's not the Gauntlet. It's the Gauntlet Sky Race.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so we can assume that there's challenges on the mat, there's challenges with this Gauntlet Sky Race, and then there's this last task that we find out about at the beginning of the chapter. So we know that sparring can be dangerous. Jack Barlow has taught us that it can be fatal. And we know that the Gauntlet can be dangerous as well. So
yeah, I guess
the violence, they kind of Rebecca Yarros skims over it.
Yeah.
I guess because it's not that important. And
I guess, yeah. I think I was just picturing, in reading that passage, I was picturing more head-to-head intense. And then it was very, though it's competitive, it was very separate, so.
Yeah. Anyway, we learn as this chapter opens that the stakes are very high because if Liam wins the spar, which, spoiler alert, he does, they were going to go from 7th place to 3rd place out of 24. So that's a big jump. And we know that those who win the squad battle, we've learned this, I think, a few chapters ago. Was it Professor De Vera that said it or Professor Mark? One of the professors.
I'm not sure, yeah.
Can't remember. Somebody will be screaming at their phone right now. Being but we learn that whoever wins the squad battle is going to get 1 week at an outpost.
Yeah.
So this is going to be kind of a real life experience, kind of like an internship.
Yeah, that's a great comparison.
And it's very valuable experience. They're going to get to meet people. They're going to get to have a little taste of whatever is in store for them once they leave Biscayeth. For first years who have really had very little experience, very little exposure, this could be really valuable insight and...
I mean, the general consensus is they were happy. Everyone is excited for this opportunity. Like,
yeah, because I think it's
they
more
want
than
it.
just bragging rights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, Liam wins his spar. The team celebrates, but Violet notices that Dain is missing.
Yes.
Weird. Commandant Panchek then steps out and announces that despite everyone expecting the last portion of the squad battle to happen tomorrow, the leadership decided to surprise the squads with the final task starting in 1 hour.
Yeah. So at this point, because Dain is missing and they're doing like tasks, I was like, oh my God, it's the Triwizard Tournament all over again.
You know what? I never thought about it, but it's so true. It's a second task.
Yeah. But anyway, turns out it is not the case. And
Dain is not unconscious under the
water.
The lake. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so they find out the details of the task, and they're tasked with the challenge of finding and acquiring by any means necessary the one thing that would be most advantageous to our enemies regarding the war effort.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool that they have to work as a squad without someone telling them what to do, which this is coming from someone with very limited knowledge of like military things, but it's not what I would expect from what I understand to be a very hierarchical structure.
Right.
I'm surprised that part of the squad battle would be an activity that would encourage that. Like, I think the teamwork is important, but that leadership without a leader, I don't really know what the proper terminology would be, but I just found it was interesting that it makes sense that the squad would have to be able to function without a leader in the event of something happening to their leader. But
also the squads are made up of second and first years. So it kind of, there are third years as well, but it also gives the staff an opportunity to see, okay, who has what it takes, who steps in as leadership.
Like, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So the squad has 3 hours to accomplish their challenge, and whoever wins is awarded 60 points. And so we know that if Violet's squad is awarded the 60 points, they will win. So automatically we're like, okay, this is happening.
Yeah.
This is going to be exciting.
It's very cool.
So the squad immediately holds themselves up in this little room, and they're like, okay, who's going to be the leader? And Riddick wants to be the leader, but Rhiannon like shoots that down right away. She's like, you'll turn this into some sort of prank. And the reader doesn't even have a chance to be like, that's rude, Rhiannon, because he's just like, fair enough. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, true. From every little side comment he says, he's great, but is he really going to take something seriously?
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. So nobody really wants to be the leader, and Imogen kind of assumes the role. Emery's a little bit sassy with Nadine, being like, are you okay with following Imogen? Because Imogen is a marked one, and Nadine has been very outspoken with her
dislike of the marked ones.
Disdain. I wanted to say like racism, but it's not racism.
Right.
It's, what's the other word for... You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it funny though, because basically Imogen is the one who's like, this is where we're going. She locks down the room. She basically takes control right away.
Yeah.
It's nice that I guess she left it to be a diplomatic decision, but it was very obvious that she was stepping in as leader. Like, it wasn't even a question in my mind. I'm like, it's going to be Imogen.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there was like a small chance it could have been Liam.
Yeah, I guess it could have been Liam.
But Liam didn't want to be.
Didn't want it.
Weird, eh? He's the best in their year. Whatever. Now is when they start throwing around ideas of what it is that they're going to steal or
and they
get.
pretty much collectively say information like right away.
Yeah.
Which obviously information is always the most important.
Absolutely.
Which also just ties into the themes of how important the scribes are and how important information and history and revisionist history and everything.
Yep. Absolutely. Liam suggests that they steal the news scrolls that they ferry about from the archives, him and Violet. Mm-hmm. And then Violet teaches us something very important. It's actually very important for Iron Flame. It's not a spoiler, but it's just something we should tuck in the back of our mind. We haven't done that in a while. We haven't done any tucking. She tells us that it's after 7 and the archives are locked, and it's the kind of vault that even wielding isn't going to touch. The whole room is sealed up airtight in case of fire.
But we learned that they do that when they were in the archives. They talked about it.
They talked about how the air was stuffy. They didn't talk about how there would be literally no air after it closes.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. It's a little...
So you don't want to get locked in.
You don't want to get locked in. Because if you do, you are not coming out. While everyone's talking and coming up with ideas, Violet starts to think about something. Like she gets this little nugget, I guess, in her mind, a little light bulb. And here's where we see kind of like the evolution of her quote-unquote friendship with Imogen. Because first, Imogen notices that she's thinking really hard.
Yeah.
And then second, Imogen gives her the space to work it out and make the suggestion. Violet goes through everyone's signet power. She goes, Riddick can wield ice, Rhiannon can retrieve, Sawyer manipulates metal, Imogen can mind wipe.
Which we didn't know.
Exactly.
And then she kind of throws in, and I'm really fast. Like, we knew that.
Yeah.
But we didn't know she could mind wipe,
Yeah,
which is pretty big power.
Yeah. There are a lot of theories that, like, basically Violet has learned about her signet power and then had her mind wiped immediately after, like, consistently. So basically, like, nobody ever knows that
Imogen has that power?
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Heaton can breathe underwater, which is not helpful. Emery can control wind, and Quinn can astral project.
Very cool.
Very, very cool. So that means that she can keep her body in one place and then walk around elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like a live hologram.
Yeah.
Sick.
Very cool.
And what is Miss Violet's plan, Elyse?
To go into her mother's office to see what information she has there. Which...
Ballsy.
Oh my God. Considering what we know about General Sorrengail and how...
Ruthless she is.
Ruthless and...
heartless.
Even if they get away with it, they're not going to get away with it.
We'll see.
I know. It's never mentioned. Maybe it comes later. But I was just floored. Like, if students break into the general's office and steal information, whatever, and I get that was part of the task, but I cannot believe there aren't repercussions. I cannot believe. Yeah, there aren't repercussions. That's insane. Even if they do it successfully, which we find out they do, anyway, I feel like that crosses so many lines. Like, how could the school just be cool with it?
I think they respect the nerve of the writers.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe it's brought up later. In the chapters we read this week, it wasn't brought up, but I cannot imagine that her mother would be okay with that. Anyway.
My lips are sealed. There's a quick time jump, and we learn that they've actually spent 2 hours waiting for night to fall. So basically, they've wasted 2 hours, and we are down to the wire. In the meantime, there have been some fun conversations. Apparently, scribes freak Emery out.
Yeah.
We learn that the infantry soldiers get to go camping.
Yeah.
That scribes go home over the summer.
So we find out the riders are the only ones that are there year-round and don't get a break.
Exactly. And the
Which
healers...
was something I had asked you a few weeks ago. But yeah.
And the healers get to go on a mind-body retreat.
Yeah.
Like, I am a little bit squirmy around gore. Like, I don't think that I could be a healer.
Oh, yeah, me neither.
But this mind-body retreat is enticing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we could do a mind-body retreat without becoming healers.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So as they're working on their plan, Violet thinks that they could really use Xaden right now for his shadows. And then Darna is just so sweet. She kind of just pops in her mind and is reassuring and encouraging. And I just thought that was really nice. Yeah.
So then they're climbing to the office. And also the fact that it's Violet's mom, she knows, she has like insider information, right?
Yeah.
Like, she knows the setup. She knows how the guards are going to be. So it's like super key in this operation. And I don't know that they'd be able to really pull it off without. that.
They wouldn't have even had this idea. They wouldn't even have thought that it was possible if it weren't for her.
Yeah, it's anyway, pretty genius
I agree.
on her part. So they're climbing to the office and putting their plan in action, and they mention Nadine is unweaving wards. So that's another power that we didn't touch upon.
I think that unweaving wards is like one of the more basic. I don't know if that's
a basic magic.
I'm not sure.
I read it as it was her signet. Yeah.
It could be.
Maybe I'd have to go back and look. But.
I don't think that they specified, to be honest.
Okay.
Reading comprehension is not my strong suit, so whatever. The plan is for Quinn to distract the guard who's guarding General Sorrengail's office or the hallway where her office is, while the others break into the general's office.
Right.
Sawyer uses his power to twist. I just thought this was really cool because we're getting a description of how everyone is contributing.
Oh, yeah.
So like Liam uses his farsight to see where the guard is.
Right.
We've got Sawyer protecting, I guess, like closing the door and magically with his metal capabilities.
He bends the lock or whatever.
Keeping the door closed. You've got Quinn distracting the guard. You got Nadine. I mean, let's just assume that you were right in that. That is her signet. Nadine is unweaving the wards. It's just cool to see everyone. Yeah, everyone's little part.
It was a great team effort, and even further once they actually successfully do it, like everyone plays a part. It's very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So they finally get into the office and they start to snoop. And Violet picks up 3 notes. And underneath, she finds a dagger with an alloy-infused hilt that looks to be with a Tirish rune. This is another thing we need to park in the back of our minds.
Well, like her knives.
I'm not saying anything. Just remember this, okay? The first note is written by Major Callista Nima, executive officer of the Southern Wing. In it, we learn that the raids around Athabine, which is one of the posts, is spreading the wing too thin, and the major is asking for reinforcements. And Violet is hit with this realization that maybe they're not being told everything that's going on. Again, like she had thought about this when her and Liam had accidentally read that scroll that they're like, oh, maybe it was confidential, like maybe it's not, whatever. And she's wondering, like, why aren't they telling us anything?
Yeah, I think at this point, it makes sense that they wouldn't tell them everything. Like, they're still students, they're learning. It'd be crazy that they would tell them everything. Right now they're supposed to be training them, so they're giving them some information that they could dissect so they could learn how to do that task. And then eventually, once they have higher clearance and are actually working in the force, they could be given the information. Because why would you just openly give all this information to kids that like haven't even completed their studies yet?
I'll tell you why. So Battle Brief is the one class that all 3 years take together. So you have to think that the third years in Battle Brief are going to be on the front lines imminently. Some of them are even called up, which we learn later on.
Yeah, but those ones could be briefed when they're called up. I don't know, like maybe it's like shady or whatever, but we're seeing more and more that like things are being censored and stuff. And I guess I just had a moment of like, it kind of does make sense. Like, why would they tell them everything?
I don't know. I just think that because things are so much worse than they're letting on.
Yeah,
that it
but
could
then
be
it's just
nefarious.
Like, what if someone breaks into the school and like takes the students and like they could torture them and get them all the information from them? Like who are, I don't know if I would leak all the info out either.
Okay. Agree to disagree.
Okay.
Then my little accountant brain got such a kick out of the next little exchange because they find the school budget.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's like, it's April. My mom's working on the budget.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny.
That was funny.
And then the next letter she opens, it comes from Colonel Alyssa Travante. And let's just note, I'm assuming that Callista is a woman. Alyssa, I'm assuming, is also a woman. So I just like that the two leadership, the major and the lieutenant, are both women. And this letter is telling the general about growing unrest about conscription in Tirandor and requesting more defensive spending. So, again, things are not what they seem.
Yeah.
Violet's thinking about this letter and how the sentiment is not new, but what makes no sense to her is the increasing of defensive spending, because we get another little nugget of information here, which is that the geographic location of the region is defensive in and of itself. Mm-hmm. Particularly Orisha.
The mountain
the
range
cliffs
and the
yeah.
griffins. We already know griffins can't fly a certain height. And,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's kind of like looking around and her eyes fall on a map. Mm-hmm. She turns to everyone and she says, "Hey, second squad, I know what we need to steal."
Yeah. So this map has basically all the outposts. It has supply routes. Basically all the information an enemy would be able to take down a whole army with. So they decide they're going to steal it. And as they're cutting it down, Liam whistles, which is the signal of, hey, the guard is getting through. We need to leave now.
Yeah. So now Rhiannon's like, okay, never done this before, but now no time like the present.
Yeah.
She decides to put her powers to the test, and she accios the map.
Yeah. But basically, it's because Rhiannon stayed back.
Yeah, so she's like in the hallway.
Behind the guard. The guard is breaking through the door. So and the map is still in the room. So yeah, she accios the map.
But like through walls.
Through the guard.
Yeah.
Which is super cool.
Crazy.
And then
they knock the guard out.
Mm-hmm.
They had to be, Violet insisted they could not kill him or hurt him.
But they do it by using the wind-wielding powers, ripping tapestries off the wall and basically, like...
Wrapping him.
Like...
It's like in a cartoon, you know?
Yeah, it was very cartoon. Throwing him against the wall. And then she also gives him a sleeping draught.
Oh, does she?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Well, we don't... I called it a sleeping draught. We don't know what it is, but basically...
She had like a vial.
He's knocked out, and she pulls out a vial and gives it to him. So though she doesn't have a signet, she's still like using her skills.
Yeah.
Because we already know she's very proficient in...
poisoning.
Yes, potions I was going to say, but yes, poisoning specifically. Yeah.
So they make it to the battle brief room just in time.
Yeah.
And of course, when they get there, Dain's jaw is ticking. And we don't like this tick. We like jaw ticks. We don't like this one.
I don't like his.
No.
Because it's angry.
Yeah. Because rather than being pleased for Violet or showing any signs of support or encouragement, she interprets this as him being upset at her. Mm-hmm. And so now the different squads are presenting their prize or...
Well, the items they decided to steal.
That's a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
So one squad stole Professor Kaori's handwritten manual on the personal habits and flaws of all active dragons. Mm-hmm. This is impressive. Mm-hmm. Another reveals the uniform of one of the infantry professors, fully intact with something that riders never bear, which is a name tag. Because this would grant an enemy access to their outpost, and especially given the rank on the shoulder of the professor. Another squad brings in a stunned, wide-eyed scribe, stolen straight from his bed, no less.
Poor thing.
By now, Violet is searching the crowd for Xaden, who's leaning against the wall, which we book girlies love a man leaning. Yeah. Which is so weird because, like, if Justin was walking around our house just, like, leaning... on things like on the door frame.
Just do it randomly.
No, I know, but like even if we're talking, like Justin's standing there, he's not leaning on the wall. Like,
I feel like in a house it'd be bizarre. I don't know.
I
don't think sitting at the back of a classroom leaning on a wall is weird.
But like even when we were with everyone this weekend, nobody was leaning anywhere. We were leaning on a counter. Like that's not as sexy. It's like leaning on a wall. I don't know. It was just. Like, I understand in a book why this is so attractive, but I, like, also have never seen this happen in real life.
But yeah, but if you're, like, in a school setting, let's say, you go outside, and then, like, the cute boy you like is leaning on a wall.
Yeah.
Like, that happens.
Okay, yeah.
It just doesn't happen in a house.
I guess.
I don't know.
Or, like, in an office.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. Leaning in the break room.
So Xaden is watching her with curiosity and expectation. So let's just take a moment to appreciate the very different responses that Violet's getting. Mm-hmm. Then Drum roll, please. It's our squad's turn to present.
Just before that, I just
Yeah.
want to say, I think all the teams did really well.
Oh, yeah.
They were all very creative and clever.
I agree.
Anyway, but please present.
Okay. So Imogen, once again, in a show of growth, she encourages Violet to do the presenting since it was her idea. And Violet says, "We have brought the ultimate weapon for our enemies, an up-to-date map of all current outposts of Navarian wings, to include troop strength of infantry battlements, as well as the locations of all current skirmishes in the last 30 days, including last night." When Kaori asks how they know the map is current, she has a huge smile on her face when she says, "Because we stole it from General Sorengale's office."
Yes, you did, Violet. Yes, you did.
Absolute mayhem breaks up. Some riders rushing to the stage as professors battle their way towards them. So obviously everyone's like, yes,
Yeah,
you won.
You won.
This is,
The heist of a century.
yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. Violet watches Xaden just as, like, basically she presents it and her eyes just lock on him to see his reaction. And he smiles in approval.
Yeah.
So she says, "I've already won."
Aww.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Award time?
Award time.
Okay.
Okay. Most romantic. "You're doing great," and Darna assures me in the happiest of tones.
Oh, that's sweet. Mine is, "But I ignore it all as Aiden tilts one corner of that beautiful mouth and tips an imaginary hat to me, bowing his head for a heartbeat before bringing his gaze back to hold mine. Satisfaction fills every ounce of my being as I smile up at him. It doesn't matter how the vote comes down. I've already won."
Yeah. I almost put that one too.
Yeah, I just think it's really sweet because, again, we've kind of been pitting him and Dain against each other. And just this constant encouragement and belief in her is just awesome.
Yeah.
I like that she looks to him for approval, and he knows that she's looking to him for approval, and he gives it to her.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah.
Funniest? Violet gives the sleeping draught to the guard, and Liam says, "You're kind of terrifying."
Mine is, "We can steal Panchek's under." Riddick starts before Rhiannon slams a hand over his mouth, and that's why we don't let you lead.
Yeah. And then for spice, I didn't put one.
Oh, I have a spicy sassy.
Okay, yeah.
And it's when Violet says, "It's April. She's working on next year's budget." Everyone stops and turns to look at me, all wearing expressions of varying degrees of disbelief. What? Did you think this place ran itself?
Yeah, that's true.
So that was my...
Super funny. Yeah. It's funny they don't have an accountant, though. That, like, the general has to do all the budgeting.
Or she could be just reviewing the budget.
Oh, maybe. That would make more sense. That would make more sense. I'll accept that.
Okay. Chapter 26.
With their squad battle victory, Violet and her crew are at the Frontline visit. As they are being given their tour, we are graced with a heartwarming reunion. Mira is stationed there. Rhiannon also gets to reunite with her family as the girls sneak out to her village. The chapter ends with a surprise visit from Xaden, proving that mated dragons keep a very short leash.
Love it. The pre-chapter blurb comes from Colonel Kaori's Field Guide to Dragonkind, and it says, "There is no stronger bond than that between two mated dragons. It goes beyond the depth of human love or adoration to a primal, undeniable requirement of proximity. One cannot survive without the other."
Mm-hmm. It's funny, because I was thinking back to our conversation about mates and stuff, and I think part of the reason why I just didn't react is the word mate is always used for animals.
Yes.
It's not ever anything else, so I didn't think anything of it. Obviously now it's proving just how deep that runs.
It's a mate, kind of like the fantasy element of mate rather than the animal element of mate.
But we don't know that.
Well, yeah, we do.
Well, no, we know their bond is super strong and intense, but we don't know that it's a fated thing.
Okay. Point for Elyse.
I'm just analyzing the facts that we have.
I guess I just take things, I generalize a bit too much, maybe.
No, I understand why, I understand.
It's all good. Okay, so obviously the squad won the squad battle, wasn't even a question.
Yeah.
And they fly for 6 hours straight to Montserrat.
Okay.
How did you want to pronounce it?
Didn't write it down, didn't remember the name, so.
Okay. And Violet paints such a picture of her soreness and how cold she is. And I am somebody who enjoys working out. There are certain parts of my body that I like absolutely cannot stand being sore. I hate having sore calves. To me, there's nothing worse. Okay. But there's other parts, like I love having a sore back.
Okay.
Because I feel like you sit up.
I think you just asked Justin to rub it.
No, I was going to say, because you sit up straighter because your back is sore. So I don't know, like you have better posture. I don't know.
Okay.
So I don't mind being sore. But being cold, I cannot cope with. Mm-hmm. No, thank you.
Well, they talk about how the fight was 6 hours. And I guess I never like thought about it. Because it's not a 6-hour car ride. It's a 6 hours straddled on a dragon, dealing
your muscles are actively being used.
Yeah, you're balancing for 6 hours. Like that is exhausting.
Yeah, your arms must be sore, your hands must be sore, your legs must be sore, your back, like everything.
Yeah, even obviously for a more experienced rider, probably gets easier if you are used to it.
Or in better shape.
But still 6 hours, that is rough.
Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah. Oh, actually, I forgot to mention, I did my first, I'm trying to do the Nesta challenge. Yeah. And yesterday I did 1,000 steps in 20 minutes.
Okay.
So at that pace, it would take me 2.8 hours.
That's not bad. And you were trying to, that's amazing actually.
But it was hard to do those 20 minutes.
Oh, I know.
I'm going to have to work my way up there.
And as you go, you would get slower, so.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'd have to probably lower the speed at one point because I was just like, at one point I'm like holding onto the rails. Like,
I think, so I've never like done Stairmaster or whatever, but I remember once we were in France and there was a tower or whatever, and I think it was like 600 steps, and it was intense. Yeah. Like by the end, you're like, okay, I'm glad I'm here. Yeah. So I can't imagine doing 10,000 steps.
Keep you posted.
Okay. I believe in you.
Thank you. So after being greeted by the outpost commander, Violet notices that Rhiannon is starting to act a little bit strange. Mm-hmm. And as soon as they get to their shared room, we learn that they're about an hour away from her village. Mm-hmm. And Rhiannon doesn't even have to ask. Violet's like, yep, I'm in. We're going to sneak out. Like,
I love that.
Yeah. When Dain knocks at their door, Violet comes to this realization that's kind of sad, but I think we both are like, this was long overdue, that a few months ago she'd have relished in this extra time with him, and now she's just avoiding him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. With the shit that they've gone through, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they'll make amends.
Maybe.
I mean, but...
During the tour of the post, Riddick makes a joke at Violet. They're kind of, joking around between the two of them. And her smile falls away when Dain looks at her. And he gives her this dirty look. And her response is to stop smiling. Mm-hmm. Totally normal. Like, if someone gives you a dirty look, like, you're not going to, like, keep smiling at their face. Like, that's just a normal reaction to stop smiling.
Yeah, I thought Dain, like, tells Riddick to stop.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Okay.
Exactly.
Which makes her stop smiling.
Yeah, exactly. And I call Dain the lack of self-awareness king.
That's a great title for him.
It's a little long, but working title.
Yeah.
He's like, what was that for? And she's like, what? And he's like, the look you gave me. And she's like, what look? And he says, the one where someone just sucked the joy out of your world. And she just says, I was just remembering the guy I used to climb trees with. That's all. Mm-hmm. Burn.
Yeah. Shoves it right back in his face. Like, gut punch.
Yeah, for sure. Meanwhile, Heaton is having a conversation about participating in drills when Violet hears her name, and it's Mira.
Yeah, I was so happy.
I know. They run to each other. They collide in this giant hug, and it was just such a heartwarming moment.
Yeah, it was such a movie moment. I actually, in reading these 3 chapters, I was thinking about it, and I was like, if they make the book into any form of other media, I hope it's
it's going to be a show.
TV show. Okay, good. Okay, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because Michael B. Jordan and Amazon Prime got the rights.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, I did not know it was going to be a TV show because I was like, there's just too many moments to make a movie. Mm-hmm. Like, it needs to be longer.
One of the critiques of Iron Flame is that people said it read like a TV show.
Interesting.
It read as having these moments of kind of peak action, and then almost as though it could have been broken down into, some people say it could have been 2 books, some people, so there have been some critiques that things happen almost like it were episodic.
Okay.
And
but
we
there's a
learn
bit of that feeling in this too.
a little bit, but so I guess a part of it could be attributed to Rebecca Yaros's writing style. But basically what people are saying is that basically Fourth Wing was optioned for a TV show before the book came out.
Okay.
And then I guess with that knowledge, but it had already been written, obviously.
Yeah.
So nothing would have impacted her writing of Fourth Wing. But then with the knowledge of it already being optioned for a TV show, some people are accusing her of having written Iron Flame.
With the TV show in mind?
Yeah.
Whatever. I like TV shows.
Yeah, there are way worse things in life.
Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah. So back to the reunion between sisters. This moment of just love and affection with Mira allows Violet to kind of process all the things that have happened to her since they've last seen each other. And Mira does something that like a mom should have done in this instance, and she's checking to make sure she's okay. And I just thought it was really...
Yeah. We already know she's the protector, you know?
Yeah, that's so true. The heaviness of the moment is lightened by Mira bringing back the joke about being an only child.
Oh, yeah. In this moment, though, despite, I mean, I guess part of it is because of everything she's going through, but despite the happiness of finally seeing Mira again, she has a moment of doubt. Violet has a moment of doubt, and she's worried because she's like, I'm not the same person Mira knew. And that like, she has a moment of worry because
she's
like,
anticipating rejection?
Well, maybe. We don't really know, but it kind of feels that way. Like, she's almost afraid Mira won't like her anymore.
Kind of because of what happened with Dain?
Probably influenced by it.
Yeah. That's a good observation that went right over my head.
But it's just a passing moment, but I was just kind of like, oh, that's so sad. But I feel, knowing what we know of Mira, like, she wouldn't care, you know?
Mira's a ride or die.
She is.
Yeah.
She is.
I was going to say something that would be a spoiler, and I will keep that to myself.
I'm glad you didn't.
The scene changes, and we're now 2 days later. Violet and Rhiannon are embarking on their sneak-out expedition when they get caught by Mira. And again, in typical big sister fashion, even though she was supposed to be out on patrol, she switched shifts because she noticed her sister acting weird.
I know. She's like, you were acting weird at dinner. Like, she clocks it right away.
I know.
And it's just so nice because despite all this time apart, she still knows her so well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they come clean, and Mira's obviously like, no way, you are not flying off. And Violet and Mira kind of bicker about it, and Violet senses she's winning because she comes...
Well, she plays like such a manipulative hand.
Yeah, first of all, she's like, come with us. And then when she's like, oh, maybe she's wavering a little, she's like, she has a guilt trip.
Yeah, she's like, oh, but imagine like... She's going to see her sister, and her sister was pregnant and had babies. Imagine if I had a baby and you can come see me. Like, it's just like lays it on the thickest possible way.
But it worked.
It did. It did.
So next, we're sitting in the dining room at Rhiannon's sister's house, and Rhiannon is rocking her nephew by the fireplace, enjoying some family time. And I'm just like, oh, this is so sweet. So again, I think we've mentioned this a few times. Our group of friends, we have a big group of friends, and everyone now has babies. I think out of the people that were there on Sunday, there were 3 couples who had no kids.
Yeah.
Everyone else has kids.
Yeah.
And it was still super fun. And it's just so nice to have like all the kids around and like all the cuddles and the sweet little cartoon voices. And, I love it. Anyway, the sisters are chatting and they're leaving kind of Rhiannon and her family half their time. And Mira asks what rules Violet has broken. And Violet's like, maybe a few here and there. I've gotten really good at poisoning my opponents before challenges. And Mira does a spit take.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. Then they talk about Violet's dragons, about her manifesting her signet, and then Violet changes the subject to the new scar Mira acquired, and it turns out that it comes from a griffin. Violet also confesses that she thinks there's way more going on, kind of like we were talking about last chapter, than what they're learning about in Battle Brief. And Mira's like, yeah, dummy, of course. You don't expect them to tell you classified information. So I feel like this might have influenced what you think.
I mean, that's what I was saying in reading these chapters.
Okay.
I was like, oh, you know what? It kind of makes sense. Like, finally at this point, because at first I was like, they're censoring it. That's so bad. Like, obviously, like, I don't. Yeah. I just, you kind of feel something is up and you don't know if it's sinister or not. But in hearing Mira say this and even the previous chapter, it was just like, maybe the fact that Violet is so shocked, like, is almost entitled. Like, why would they give all this info to kids? You know?
I don't know. I feel like Mira drank the Kool-Aid.
Oh, maybe. I mean, there's moments later that I'm like, oh, Mira, you're not who I thought you were. I do like in this conversation, though, how Mira is so supportive and so proud of her sister, in contrast to the other family reunion we had last episode.
Yeah.
With General Sorengale. Like,
Basically not acknowledging her daughter.
Yeah, just night and day.
Yeah.
Night and day. And Violet so needs Mira in her life.
I know. So Mira changes the subject again, being like, what's going on with you and Dain? And I just found this conversation to be so sister-coded. Mm-hmm. We're just, they just want all the gossip. You're hopping from subject to subject. It's not linear. It's just like,
I know.
So
it's
random.
So true, though. It's funny, like, when my sister and I, because, like, sometimes we'll go a long while of, like, having not seen each other. So we're, like, trying to catch up, but, like, while the rest of the family's around. And then she'll, like, say something that's, like a big, like, thing. And I'm just like, oh, we can't talk about this with everyone here. So we're, like, kind of trying to whisper. And, like, it's just funny.
Yeah. That's... We have sisters.
Yeah.
Violet tells her sister, I needed to change in order to survive. He wouldn't let me. I got his friend Amber killed. She was a wing leader. And honestly, everything with Xaden just pushed us so far apart that I don't know how to repair our friendship. Not to what it was, at least. And Mira validates once more that Amber's death was not her fault. And it seems like the only person actually blaming her for it is Dain. Nobody else is. Everyone else is like, she broke the rules. Like, she got what was coming, Then Mira asks if it's true whether Xaden saved her that night. And they go back and forth, and Mira goes, I hope you know what you're doing there. Yeah. Because I distinctly remember warning you to stay clear of that traitor's son.
Yeah.
And Violet gives him credit, but also she credits the vest for saving her that night. And then Mira says something that I just realized.
Okay.
We never speak of again.
Okay.
Not in Fourth Wing, not in Iron Flame.
Okay.
She says, glad it worked. I swear it took an entire molting season to collect all of those scales. I've never witnessed a molting season.
Oh, that's really funny. She did say it when she talked.
She
gave
did.
The vest.
No,
but that's funny.
In Iron Flame, we still haven't had a molting season. So I don't know if molting seasons don't happen every year.
I don't know. Dragon facts.
Add this to the list of questions for Rebecca.
Yeah, seriously. Come on, Rebecca.
Violet asks her if she thought of making them for all riders because obviously, this has been a piece of equipment that has really, really helped her. And apparently leadership is looking into it. So again, we never hear about this again.
Well, so interesting that you say that because when I never thought of that, but when I read that, I was like, oh yeah, why haven't they done this before?
Yeah.
Insane.
Like Mira, I know she's smart, but like she's not some like super genius.
No, I know.
To have like thought of this plan.
How is all their armor not made of dragon scales? Like it's kind of weird.
It really is. Now onto another subject hop. Violet is looking at Rhiannon and her nephew and tells her sister, I've never seen a family this happy. Even when Brennan and Dad were alive, we weren't like that.
You know.
Mira agrees, and she says, but I can remember plenty of nights we spent curled around the fire with Dad and that book you love. And Violet's like, yeah, the one you made me leave? And Mira's like, I have it. I'm Montserrat.
I know.
What a good sister.
Book, the book that's not in the library. The book that doesn't seem to exist anywhere else.
Absolutely. Mira then says something really ominous. She says, I never used to get why the villains would choose to corrupt their souls and become venom. And now we've the kind of power people would kill for, Violet. Dragons and griffins are the gatekeepers. And I'm sure that someone jealous enough, ambitious enough, risking a soul would be a fair price for the ability to wield. Just makes me glad our dragons are so discerning and our wards keep the griffin riders at bay. Who the hell knows what kind of people those furry creatures choose? Is this not the most obvious foreshadow?
I know.
Shady shit is going to go down for sure.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of funny because when we had first talked about the wyvern and the venom and stuff, like I read it but didn't think much about it, and you kind of flagged
She's
it
really drilling it whole.
But reading that passage, you're like, oh, so that's what's going to happen. It's funny.
Yeah. We leave Rhiannon's family, and Violet notes that Taryn has been uncharacteristically quiet. She takes the opportunity to ask her sister whether she's been stationed with any riders of mated pairs. And Mira's like, yeah, why? And Violet's like, oh, I'm just wondering how long they can be separated.
And who answers?
Well, listen, I know I said that Xaden had the best entrance a few weeks ago.
Okay.
I recant.
This one's even better.
This one is the best entrance ever. All you hear is a voice coming out of the shadows again.
Yeah.
It's his like go-to move.
Yeah.
Turns out about 3 days is their max.
Yeah, he's so dramatic.
I know, I love it.
But even that, like, in reading it, I could, like, see it so clearly in my brain. I'm like, it just makes sense to make it a TV show. So
It is very visual. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awards. Most romantic. We might be hundreds of miles away from Bezgaeth, but I've never felt more at home.
Aww.
When Violet reunites with Mira.
Mine is also like a Violet Mira line, and it says, I can't even begin to tell you how many times you've saved my life without even being there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was so sweet.
So I don't have a funny one.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why my brain just wasn't picking up on
Awards.
Moments, I guess.
Yeah.
Award moments, but...
Mine is, and look at you didn't die. Irrational giddy laughter bubbles up. I didn't die. You're not an only child. We both burst into laughter and tears streak down my cheeks. Sorrengails are weird. I hear Imogen state.
It's cute. Yeah.
It's like not like a funny line, but it's a funny moment.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's good. Spicy.
Yeah.
Xaden is a complicated subject. So complicated that I can't identify my own feelings. Thinking of him only jumbles me in a way that leaves me tangled in knots. I want him, but I can't trust him. Not in the ways I want to, and yet in other ways, he's the person I trust the most. So I just loved how the passage was like towing that like dangerous / attraction line.
Yeah. Mine was spicy sassy, and it's when Violet turns to Dain and says, I was just remembering the guy I used to climb trees with, that's all.
Yeah, that made me really sad.
It made me really satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah. He needed that clap back, absolutely. But it was also just, it's a sad sentiment.
Yeah, I guess. But she doesn't seem too sad about it. She doesn't seem very torn up about it at all.
That's a very good point.
So,
Chapter 27.
So it's actually funny to me because this episode is kind of in reverse of our normal episodes, because usually the first chapter in our chunk of chapters is the meatiest one, and then it kind of tapers off. But this week it was the opposite.
Yeah, this upcoming chapter 27 is
Biggie.
It's a biggie. A lot going on.
All right, let's hear the synopsis.
Okay. Mira leads a battle brief, and the rivalry between Dain and Xaden completely takes over. Afterwards, she pulls the love triangle aside and gives them a good talking to. The keep is attacked by griffins, and the Bezgaeth squad needs to flee, despite Violet's protests. A confusing kiss distracts Violet long enough for Taryn to come and sweep her off her feet and get her to safety.
Yeah, this was a big chapter. The pre-chapter blurb comes from a recommendation for award from Major Postum to General Sorrengail. And it says, for valor above and beyond the call of duty in the Battle of Strathmore, where her bravery resulted not only in the destruction of a battery behind enemy lines, but also saved the lives of an entire company of infantry, I recommend Mira Sorrengail receive the Star of Navarre. But if the criterion is not met, which I assure you it has been, downgrading to the Order of the Talon would be a shame, but sufficient. So it goes to show that Mira, she's really walking in her mother's footsteps.
Mm-hmm. Do we know which one she got?
No.
Okay. I was just curious. But yeah, it was nice to kind of get a little glimpse of, because we've heard, oh, Mira's amazing. And at the beginning, when people see her, they're like, oh my God, it's Mira. Like, we know she has a reputation, but it's kind of nice to see a mini glimpse as to why she has that reputation.
Yeah, for sure. So the chapter opens with the squad just chilling in some briefing room of the outpost. And Riddick is like, so all we do is like wait for something to happen? And Mira's like, yeah, pretty much. We learn that the briefing room is in the highest turret of the outpost, offering incredible views of the mountain range around them. And that the squad has been split into two groups, one on patrol and one studying previous battles at the outpost. When Violet's half went out on patrol, Xaden was along with them, and Dain was giving him shit for it, basically. Jealous much?
He's so jealous.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah, we see Dain is obviously really unhappy Xaden's there, but we also see that, like, Mira doesn't trust him.
But that's normal. I mean, in the first chapter, she tells Violet to stay away from him.
No, I know. But I just found her dislike towards the marked ones was very intense. And I guess
it's in line with the society.
It is. But I was just almost disappointed in Mira.
Yeah.
But I understand it is in line with the society. And I think part of that reason that she would still hold that idea is because she hasn't actually had any experience with them.
Yeah, she hasn't interacted with them or anything.
Because Xaden is the oldest. So
Exactly.
he's the first crew to go through. So I understand.
Yeah.
But I was still a bit like, Jesus, Mira.
In the briefing room, Mira gives them a scenario, kind of like you mentioned in your synopsis, to work out as if they were in battle brief. And she calls out Dain to provide an action plan. Everyone starts asking questions, and Mira's like, everything you taught is theory, but you need to plan for things to not work the way you anticipated them to work. You need to be nimble and quick on your feet. And to prove her point, she asks how many have been called out as third years. Emery and Xaden raise their hands, and Dain is such a little loser. Like, I hate him so much. He looks like his head is about to explode. That's not correct.
What? No,
yeah, exactly.
That's not possible. Like, so by the book, but that's kind of why Mira brings it up. It's like every single answer they say is so by the book, or the questions they ask is so by the book.
Yeah.
It's almost like they can't think for themselves,
Exactly.
which is kind of concerning. I was like, is the education really preparing them? Because it doesn't look like it.
Yeah. Xaden presses his lips in a tight line and nods, giving him a sarcastic thumbs up, and it's so belittling.
Yeah, I know. I love
it.
It made me laugh.
Yeah. Now that she's proven her point, Mira tells them to think of the power in this room. Think of what each individual rider brings to the table and how you'd use those powers to conquer your objective. Liam argues that they don't teach that to first years.
Yep.
And this is something I thought was really important to point out. He's so strong in his character because this is not the first time that he's been looked down on as a marked one. When Mira looks down at his rebellion relic, he doesn't squirm. He holds her gaze. He doesn't hide, tuck it under his shirt or anything.
He's super like water off a duck's back. Like, nothing. Being judged for being a Mark one doesn't seem to affect him, or he doesn't let it show. And so this is kind of what we were just talking about before. Violet realizes that no one in active duty has ever flown with a marked one, and she also realizes that, like her grief at Brennan's loss was directed at Xaden that first day on the parapet, there will be more than one rider who misdirects their anger at marked riders. Then she warns Mira with a look, and it's just like, wow, what a difference a few months makes, because she is protective of her friends now. Like, I don't want this. Yeah. She says, "Don't mess with my friends."
Yeah. Well, she thinks it in her face.
She thinks it.
She makes a face that says, "Don't mess with my friends." Whatever. Mira turns back to Liam and says, they might not teach you this battle strategy as first years because you're all busy trying to stay on your dragons. You had your first taste of strategy during the squad battle, and it's almost May, which means final war games should be beginning, right? Dain confirms that it's in 2 weeks.
What is final war games?
I'm sure it's exactly what it sounds like.
That's scary. I didn't know this was a thing.
I know, they don't talk about it really.
Until now, I think. I'm pretty sure, or I haven't caught it. So.
Me neither. Back to the exercise Mira was training them on, she asks who's going to be in charge. And Dane's like, me.
Yeah.
There's a brief argument about putting Xaden in charge, but he's like, pretend I'm not here. And in the biggest of big dog moves, he says, give ACOTAR the position we all know he craves.
Yeah. Everything that Xaden says and does towards Dain is so twisting the knife.
I know.
It's very...
It's the best.
It's very pointed. It's very,
And Elyse, you said this in episode 7, and I had to keep a straight face.
Okay.
But when Violet tells Xaden not to be a dick, he mind speaks to her.
Yeah. This whole part, he mind speaks to her, but then like messes with her.
Oh, I know. He's like, you haven't seen me start to be a dick.
Yeah.
And then when she's like, oh my gosh, like, how is this happening or whatever, he says, turns out that we are all gloriously, annoyingly linked. This is just one of the perks. Though I'm starting to wish I tried it sooner. The look on your face is priceless. He winks. He winks and turns back to the table.
Yeah, he's toying with her this whole time.
I know. I love it.
Which is...
I love it.
Just so cruel.
Dain is being such a little baby. He's like, but you're the wing leader. And Xaden goes, I'm not even supposed to be here. But if it makes you feel better, for the purpose of war games, you'd be getting your orders from your section leader, Garrick Travis, which he'd be getting from me. You'll be carrying out your maneuvers as a squad for the good of the wing. Just pretend I'm another member of your squad and use me as you wish, ACOTAR. And Dain doesn't play it cool.
No. Oh my God. It's embarrassing. This whole thing is embarrassing.
I have so much secondhand embarrassment for Dain in this section.
Yeah.
He's like, why are you even here? And when Xaden uses the mated dragons excuse, Dain can't believe they couldn't make it 3 days. And Violet steps in to defend him. And then Xaden mind speaks to her. You never considered that it was you I couldn't stay away from?
I know.
I'm not even joking. 3rd time I read this, I still got
He knows what he's doing.
Violet elbows him, and I just can't cope. He mind tells her, now, you'll give our little communication secret away if you can't keep from being so ... violent. He barely restrains his smile, obviously loving that he gets the final word.
Yeah.
Violet is like, I need to figure out how to do this.
Oh, yeah. Because she hasn't figured out how to wield that power yet.
No.
Yeah.
I just love it.
So Violet, because she can't do it, she like ends up asking Taryn, like, tell him to shut up.
Yeah. And now we're kind of just like airing dirty laundry. Dain's like, of course you rushed to defend him. But how can you forget this guy wanted to kill you 6 months ago? And Violet's like, whoa, I cannot believe you went there. And Dain, again, with the belittling comments, just goes, good job remaining professional. And Mira has had enough. She's seen like 2 minutes of this, and she's like, this is
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So she kind of shuts it down and tries to redirect the thing. But Violet also jumps in to redirect because she goes in with strategy right away. She's
exactly.
Like, all right, like, but then she turns and like jabs Dain 2 sentences later. Because she throws back
you want to do your job?
Well, yeah, she throws it back in his face saying, you want to do your job? I mean, how could you forget you're the squad leader is beyond me, which is the exact same words that he just threw at her. So it's just like, oh, this isn't over.
Yeah. He hand clenches. Cue Arthur meme.
Arthur meme. Dain is just forever the Arthur meme.
I know. And we keep after reminding ourselves Dain is hot.
Yeah.
He rips his gaze from Violet's and asks Quinn, can she astral project from the back of her dragon? It is confirmed that yes. So now he's starting to kind of get back into the exercise, and he's like, okay, you could project into the fortress, look for signs of weakness. Liam, we'd use your farsight to see where the riders are and look for traps. Mira's like, okay, good. And she's starting to kind of add more detail to the scenario. So she's saying there's a weakness. And on top of that, we've got citizens in the dungeons.
So as they're going through everyone's signet power, someone asks Dain what his is, and he says it's above your pay grade. Why is he keeping it a secret?
I want to punch a wall with his face when he says that. He's so self-important.
Yeah.
Like, ew, Dain.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Ew, Dain.
Ew, David.
Ew, David.
Dain turns to Xaden to ask if he's got any other ideas. And Violet's like, yeah, you stop ignoring that you have an incredibly powerful shadow wielder at your disposal and ask him to black out the area so no one sees you land. And Mira agrees. And Dain's like, whoa, you could do that? Like, he's so dumb. So Xaden does it, turns the room into shadows. It's giving Resand.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I'm squealing.
Yeah.
When he goes, in her mind, I hope you didn't get any ideas when we were in the dark. He teases her. This is when she complains to Taryn.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. And
yeah, he is not playing fair at all right now.
Xaden?
Yeah.
No, not at all. And so Taryn tells her, like, you have the power to be a pain in the ass too. Trust me.
So that's the end of their brief. And then after the lesson, Mira's like, you three outside right now, like so mad.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. Because they basically let their entire personal issues interfere, take over the whole thing. Which I could, as a soldier, you need to just do the job. You can't let your personal feelings get in the way. Like, it was just a mess.
Yeah, it was super unprofessional.
Yeah.
And so Mira puts this sound shield up, and Dane's like, whoa, so cool. And she's like, shut up.
Yeah. But it's funny, like, there's so many moments where Dane's like, oh, wow. And, like, he's almost, like, very naive about how the world works and things like, how did he not know Xaden had...
No, he knew. He just didn't know
how strong it was?
Yeah.
I thought it was, like, common knowledge that he's one of the strongest writers they've ever seen. Like,
maybe he underestimated it. Maybe he didn't want to acknowledge.
It just makes him look more dumb. I don't know.
Well, he is dumb. So then Mira goes, I don't know what bug has crawled up your ass, Dain, Atos, but have you forgotten that you're a squad leader? That you have a real chance of becoming a wing leader next year? Like, Mira just keeps putting him back in his place, and when he calls her Mira, she corrects him, Lieutenant Sorengale.
Yeah, this is professional.
Yeah. She goes, you're blowing it, Dain. I know how badly you want his job next year, pointing to Xaden. Don't forget that we've grown up about 10 feet apart, and you are blowing it because what? You're pissed that Violet bonded his dragon's mate?
Yeah.
And he's like, he's the worst possible thing for her. And Mira's like, listen, I'm not arguing with you, But there's nothing anyone can do about the choices of the dragons. They don't bother with the opinions of mere humans, do they? But whatever's going on between the two of you, and she's pointing between Violet and Dain, is fucking up your squad. If I can see it after 4 days with you, then they sure as hell can.
Like, he's just being he's letting all his personal feelings get in the way. He's being so unprofessional. It's just frustrating. And, like, he isn't suited for leadership. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. So she says, you two have been best friends since you were 5. Figure your shit out. Then she dismisses Dain. She's like, done with him.
Yeah.
Dain fucks off. And she turns to Xaden and she goes, is this what she can expect next year? And Xaden goes, AHO's being an asshole? Probably. And Mira's not amused. And I really don't know how she's not falling under Xaden's spell because, like, I haven't even seen this guy's face because it's in my mind. And I'm like, ah. So she goes, mated dragons typically bond riders in the same year for a reason. You cannot expect her to assign wings or her instructors to let you both fly off every 3 days. He's like, it wasn't my choice. And Violet, again, for like the 5th time, defends him, saying, what are we supposed to do? Tell the giant flame-throwing dragons how it's going to be? Mira's like, yes, because you can't live this way, Violet. You're the one who will end up missing the training you need because he's more powerful of the two of you right now. But if you don't get to focus on your training, that's how it'll always be, in the sense that, like, if she can't focus on her training, she will never surpass him in power, I guess. And again, Violet defends him, and she goes, this line gave me chills. Like, this line is something that I think we should all remember. He might wield shadows, Violet, but give him his way and you'll become one. Like, I don't know. That got me. Violet defends him yet again, and then Mira counters, and this again really got me. She goes, killing someone isn't the only way to destroy them. Keeping you from reaching your potential seems like a great path to the retribution he swore against our mother. Think long and hard. How well do you really know him? It
just seems like such a crazy reaction. And, like, I did basically pause to kind of think about everything she was saying, because I was like, oh man, like, if that is what is going on here, like, that is, like, that's very intense.
It's a long con.
But it's a long con, for sure. For sure. I mean, to be honest, if that ended up being the plot twist, I'd stop reading the book. But no, it just, like, she's filled with so much hate.
Yeah.
But what made me pause and think is, like, you know what? We are seeing the book from Violet's perspective.
Yep.
Which means if Violet's missing some red flags, we might not be seeing them either. So, like, I don't think I feel like Mira's reaction's too extreme, but then part of me was like, oh, like, maybe Violet is too trusting.
Well, this is actually something that a lot of people will say about A Court of Silver Flames, because they'll say, like, Rhysand changes in this book.
Oh, okay.
You'll get there.
He hasn't been in it
eventually.
that much, to be honest.
He hasn't. So. But basically, it's, again, what you're saying. The first 3 books of ACOTAR, let's forget Frost and Starlight because there's multiple perspectives in it, are all from Farrah's perspective. We'll put a spoiler for this, but whatever. But A Court of Silver Flames is from Nessa's perspective. So obviously she's going to view Rhys differently than Farrah did because she's not in love with him.
Yeah.
Like, it's normal.
Yeah. And she, like, is angry and just hates everyone anyway. So.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. But that's kind of, I guess, I just never thought, I don't think Mira's right, but I also just never paused and thought, like, oh, wait, we are seeing this through Violet's eyes. The way when we get to see Xaden's perspective, we learn things about Violet that we didn't really know
That's
before.
true.
You know?
That's a great point. Yeah.
Anyway.
So the whole question of, like, how well do you know Xaden? How much do you trust him? It really hits Violet hard because she goes, I trust Xaden. At least I think I do. But Mira's right. There are infinite ways to demolish someone without ending their life. And then Mira starts, like, mentioning something about, why does he hate our mother so much? Why the kids, like why are the kids like him being put on the parapet? And that's when Xaden's like, I'm still here. And he goes, you're not listening. I'm here. Taryn didn't drag her back to Basgiath. He didn't break through her chails and pour his emotions into her. He didn't demand she fly across the fucking kingdom. Your sister is right here. I'm the one that left my post, my position, my executive officer in charge of my wing. She's not missing out on shit. And Mira is, like, still worried about next year, but Violet's like, don't worry, we'll figure it out. And again, for the 3rd time in this conversation, alone. So she defended him a bunch of times, like, in the big room. Now she's defending him 3 times in this conversation.
Yeah.
She says, Mira, he's taken every spare minute he has to train me on the mat for challenges or take me flying in hopes I'll finally figure out how to keep my damn seat without Taryn holding me in place. Whoops.
Yeah.
She's revealed too much.
Oops. You can't keep your seat? Why didn't you tell me? I think this is my least favorite sentence. It is used so much in this book, and I get so annoyed every time.
I know. But Violet, you know, she explodes at her sister. And I think it's all the bad vibes with Dain, like, finally just bubbling over.
Yeah.
She goes, because I'm not you. And Mira's shocked. She's like, you look so much stronger now than you did before. And Violet's like, yeah, my joints and muscles are stronger, but it doesn't, quote unquote, fix me.
Yeah. Sad.
But then Xaden says it and is like, she's getting better.
Yeah, they have each other's back through all of this. Like, and I know they are bonded because of their dragons and not by choice, but well, that'll come. but it's just nice to see that they seem to have each other's back already, and this whole bonding thing is so new.
Yeah, I agree. Their conversation is interrupted by Taryn warning that there's a drift of griffins heading this way. We are going to get some action. Oh. The action is beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Turns out the wards are down too, and Mira's like, you gotta go. And Violet's like, we can help. And Mira turns to Xaden and is like, get her out of here. And Xaden's like, even if you don't trust me, I'm the best weapon you have. Like, Xaden knows he's a strong...
Yeah. And he's the third year. Like, he's probably pretty ready to be on the front
Well, he's
lines.
already said he's been on the front lines before.
Exactly.
Mira is so self-sacrificing here. She goes, if what you say is true, then you're the best weapon she has. The other half of the squad will be here in moments. And Dain, her dragon's name, anyway, thinks we have about 20 minutes.
I thought it was Tian.
Tian? Okay. Thinks that we have about 20 minutes until the griffins arrive. She looks at Violet. She goes, you have to get to safety. I love you. Don't die. I'd hate to be an only child. But this time, like, she's not cocky or whatever. Like, this is really serious. And Violet is barely registering what's happening. And Mira turns to Xaden and she goes, you want me to trust you? Get her the fuck out of here. Like, find a way to keep her safe. Find a way to keep her in her seat.
Yeah.
Just do something, you know? And my heart is breaking at this moment because again, like you said, like, I see it in my mind. You know, she's screaming after her sister. She's screaming, I love you, screaming her name. Yeah. Xaden is like hauling her away.
I know.
It's kind of giving, I volunteer.
It is.
Like, that's kind of, I'm imagining Katniss like screaming and the guards are like holding her back.
That whole scene, I cannot watch it without crying.
Really?
We just rewatched the movies not long ago and I was bawling. Scott's like, the movie just started.
I feel like I'm immune because I've seen it so many times, like on social media or like in memes and like whatever. But anyway.
No, I felt all the feelings.
Yeah. So she runs back to get her pack because obviously like they need to grab their stuff and get out of here. And she's like, this is bullshit. Taryn could help them. And Xaden's like, your sister's right. You have to make it out. So we're leaving. She has to be really desperate because she looks to Dain for like backup.
Back me up here. Like, but I mean, at the same time, Dain cares about her. But yeah, I know. As if Dain could stop Xaden.
Seriously. He goes, for once, Ryerson and I agree. It's not just you. We have to get out, Violet. We have to think of every other first year. So it's a good point. Basically, like.
Well, she says, oh, it's not just about me.
Yeah.
Which it isn't, so.
The desperation amps up with Violet calling in the favor Xaden owes her. And it's written that there's so much compassion, so much understanding in his eyes that when he lets go of my waist, I think he just might let me stay. But his hands are on my cheeks, sliding up to cup the base of my neck as he brings his mouth to mine. And this kiss is so intense.
Go on.
No, that's all.
Okay. I was so confused by this happening.
Me too.
That I had to go back and read the passage because Violet swept up and she talks about, she's like, it was everything I've been thinking of it and it's better than I remember, which is like, I'm like, great for you, but why did he kiss you right now? I was so confused.
The difference is I'm like the romantic one, so I'm like, this is a dramatic like moment, so he just like took it upon himself.
I guess, but it just, my mind was so not there.
But it's not why he kissed her.
No, I know that.
Okay.
But I was just...
See, like, I just got swept away.
I was confused. I was just like, what is happening? Why is this happening? And then it makes sense because he was just trying to distract her to give the dragons long enough time to come and get
But is that really why? Because he only breaks the kiss when we're both panting. First of all, like that had to have been a very intense kiss.
He used it as an excuse.
then rests his forehead against mine, another thing I love. And he says, leave for me, Violet. Hard eyes. And I know
eye roll.
you don't you don't like it when, I know I didn't like it either when Dain was like, leave the Riders Quadrant for me. But like in this scenario, his life is tied to hers, okay? It's very different.
Okay.
It's very different.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess their lives are tied together.
And he's being vulnerable. He's saying leave for me because he's saying like leave because my life is in danger too. Like that's a vulnerable thing for him to say.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think I'm just like being too diplomatic that I'm like, as Dain has said these things, which we got mad at him for saying, and now the exact same words are being spoken by Mira. The exact same words are being spoken by Xaden. So it's just kind of like,
I have no problem being a hypocrite. None.
That's what I'm saying. I think I'm just being too like diplomatic about it.
Yeah,
because you're not wrong. Like I didn't even think about that. How his life is literally tied to hers.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Taryn tells her that he's almost there, and Violet realizes that Xaden had been stalling to give Taryn and Sigale time to arrive, and her heart sinks. And she goes, I will hate you for this. And he says, yeah.
Yeah.
A flash of pure regret crossed his face as he draws away. I can live with that. And he's just like, arms up, hold tight, like, let's go. And
yeah. It's such a, again, cinematic moment like that.
I could just imagine like the wind rustling her hair and the dragons kind of all flying off, and they're on the roof of this keep. And it's,
I know.
Yeah. So Violet tells Taryn, you have to take us back. He responds, I have done everything I can and I will not risk your life. Now hold on so we can outfly them. Violet looks over her shoulders and she sees Xaden and Sigale approaching quickly, and farther behind them, hundreds of feet below, a dozen griffins envelop the keep.
I know.
Wait till next week to find out what happens next.
Yeah. What did Taryn actually do something? Did he put something into action before coming to get him? What's going to happen to Mira? Like, the keep is being swarmed right now.
Yeah, they leave, and it's not like they've got cell phones where they can just like text each other like, all good.
They can like mentally talk to each other. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of a scary point to be leaving the book.
Yeah. I apologize for this cliffhanger. I've done pretty good. Listen, this is episode 9. Out of 9, there have only been two
moments that are like dire.
Yeah,
I agree.
So, pretty good.
Awards?
Yes.
Okay. Most romantic. Don't fuck with my friends. Sassy, but the love is there.
Yeah, for sure. Mine is, I can't seem to keep my eyes to myself. There's a palpable energy in every room he enters, and it brushes over my skin like a caress each time our eyes meet. Even now, I'm aware of every breath he takes as he sits next to me midway down the table.
I had that tagged too. Funniest? You have the power to be a pain in the ass too. Trust me. Turn to Violet.
Mine is so much more crude. Oh, no. Mine is when one of the riders at like stationed at the outpost goes, do you boys want to whip it out and measure? It'll be faster.
So funny.
Yeah. What's your spiciest line?
I hope you didn't get any ideas while we were in the dark there.
That's spicy.
That's spicy.
Mine's just the kiss.
Oh, fair.
To me, that was just delicious. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Please rate this podcast and leave a review. It'll help other people find us. You can follow us on Instagram at BookBoundPod and on TikTok at Book Bound Besties. Please, please, please tag us in your reaction videos if you're reading along with us. Really, on anything. We're having so much fun. I keep saying this, but it's so true to check in with different listeners on how far they are or what books they're reading. Yeah. Just really not feeling like we're just talking into the void and actually talking to people.
It makes all the difference.
It really does. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email us at bookboundpod@gmail.com. Let's get to reading.